was the 26th president? Yes.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Theodore Roosevelt, right. But who was he really? Over the years, I've done much research and have done many papers on Theodore Roosevelt because he is interesting to me and is my favorite president. Today, I will provide you with the information about his childhood, his education, achievements, and death. According to the article by Sidney Milkins called Theodore Roosevelt, Life Before the Presidency from the Miller Center, Theodore Roosevelt was born on October 27, 1858, to a wealthy family in New York. His father, Theodore Roosevelt Sr., was a philanthropist and businessman. His mother, Martha Mitty Roosevelt, was a Georgian woman raised on a plantation. Theodore Roosevelt was the second of 4 children. He was a sickly child with asthma, but as he grew older, he decided he would make his body by doing lots of exercise. As reported by Robert Carl in his review, Redeeming Roosevelt from Academic Questions, his father believed in muscular Christianity, which means one's Christian and patriotic duty to have self-discipline, selflessness for others, and tough athleticism. As Theodore Roosevelt grew, he kept a love of adventures, such as hiking and horseback riding. And he kept up his physical endeavors as well through wrestling and boxing. Theodore Roosevelt had a very good schooling, which helped in later years with his career. He was home tutored by private teachers at an early age and traveled a lot around the globe during this time. As he grew up, he entered Harvard College and studied many subjects such as zoology and natural history. Another statement by Robert Carl in Redeeming Roosevelt was that Roosevelt's classmates called him eccentric. He would come home smelling of formaldehyde and had pet snakes. After college, he went to Columbia Law School but dropped out after only a year and began his public service. With the opportunities given to him throughout his early life, Roosevelt grew into a confident military man, a prominent leader, and a keen speaker. In the words of Elizabeth Gingrich in her article, Lessons from History, The Courage to Lead, the Leadership Legacy of Theodore Roosevelt and Why It Matters Today, Roosevelt's life teaches us about certain principles such as commitment to justice, pursuit of progress, and ability to tackle complex challenges with conviction and pragmatism. Theodore Roosevelt was wise and showed how to navigate the complex ways of leadership. He continues to guide leaders even to the present day. However, Theodore Roosevelt's life was a life of loss as well. He lost his mother and his first wife, Alice Lee, on the same day. These losses caused Roosevelt to leave his daughter, also named Alice, and go to the Dakota Badlands, where he learned about the hardships of the frontier life. After leaving to go back east, he visited often to hunt. I would never have been president if it had not been for my experiences in North Dakota, he said. Later on, he married Edith Caro and had 5 children with her. Theodore Jr., Kermit, Ethel, Archibald, and Quentin. After returning to New York, his political spirit was restored. He wrote several books between 1882 and 1896 and ran for mayor for New York City in 1886, but was unsuccessful. He campaigned for Republican presidential nominee Benjamin Harrison in 1888, and who won the election and appointed Roosevelt to the U.S. Civil Service Commission. After that, he became the president of the New York City Police Board. He cleaned up the board and made it illegal to sell alcohol on the Sabbath. Roosevelt became a great leader in the Navy as well. President William McKinley appointed him Assistant Secretary of the Navy in 1897. Theodore Roosevelt led many measures to prepare for war with Spain after the explosion of Maine, a U.S. battleship in Havana Harbor. As the Spanish-American War began, Roosevelt became a part of a group known as the Rough Riders. They were farmers and cowboys who Roosevelt met in North Dakota. Theodore Roosevelt led the charge of San Juan Hill in Cuba and won the battle, coming home with the Rough Riders as war heroes. That caught the eye of Republican leaders and led to Roosevelt becoming governor of New York. He changed taxes by supporting a bill that put taxes on gas, water, and electricity as governor. His boss, Theodore or Thomas Platt, however, became worried that Roosevelt would destroy the Republican state machine as governor, so he worked to get Roosevelt into the vice presidency. Roosevelt agreed, though reluctantly, because it would give him a shot at the White House. He became vice president under William McKinley in 1900. However, it did not last long as McKinley was assassinated 1 year later, making Roosevelt next in line for the presidency. According to Ewan Dye and Elizabeth Somerville in their article for Journal of Values-Based Leadership, finding commonality, the first principles of leadership thought of Theodore Roosevelt in traditional Chinese culture. Theodore Roosevelt was called the conservationist president for his work in creating national parks. Preserving nature was a big part of Roosevelt's presidency because he cared about animals and nature. Apart from having numerous pets in his lifetime, Theodore was also a hunter of big game. During a hunt, his friends tied up an old bear for Roosevelt to shoot, but Roosevelt refused to shoot it because it was unfair and the bear could not defend itself. The iconic teddy bears became a popular toy at that time because of this. His views about the natural and social worlds were inseparable, as his writings show. Theodore Roosevelt made other influential achievements during his presidency as well, as later listed by Robert Carl in the article mentioned before. Theodore Roosevelt turned America into the world power it is today. He helped build the Panama Canal, a waterway that connects the Pacific Oceans to the Caribbean and served a crucial role in trade. He also made a big impact in instating child labor laws, public education reforms, and codes for urban housing. He brought about the U.S.'s first food and drug laws as well. His foreign policy was one of military power and diplomacy. This policy was to speak softly and carry a big stick, as stated by Sidney Milgus in an article titled Theodore Roosevelt Foreign Affairs. He helped America gain an overseas empire by annexing Hawaii and gaining Cuba, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines as U.S. territories. Roosevelt won the Nobel Peace Prize for creating a solution to end the Russo-Japanese War, more easily enabled by his knowledge of these countries. As stated by Kami Praga in her article, The Old Lion is Dead, the shocking story of Teddy Roosevelt's sudden death at age 16, for all that's interesting. Theodore Roosevelt died January 6, 1919, in Oyster Bay, New York. He had been battling medical and emotional trauma for months before his death, but he would not tell anyone about it. While having dodged death many times in his life, even an assassination attempt, Roosevelt would not hold on forever. His son Quentin died in World War I, and Roosevelt was heartbroken. Though he kept up his public appearances, behind closed doors he was distraught and struggled with the idea that his son went to war only to please him. His health continued to decline from that point on, but he wouldn't slow down. Then suddenly he died due to a heart condition known as pulmonary embolism, which is when a blood clot breaks off and travels into the lungs, blocking the blood vessels there. Thus, the president was gone. So, who was Teddy Roosevelt? He was the son of a wealthy family, the father of 5, rough rider and military man, governor of New York and vice president under McKinley, the 26th president, a man of great wisdom, power, and sorrow. In the end, his life shows that anyone can be brave and do amazing things, but everyone has his losses and must one day succumb to death. Thank you.